Have you studied, I assume you have not, Mr. Cammack, the articles of impeachment in this case?
No, sir, not studied them.
But if I suggested to you, this is, quote, why you're here, close quote, could you agree with me?
Yes, sir. I've read this. I've seen this.
All right. Did Mr. Hardin ask you or show you this article in any of those 8 or so hours?
I don't recall seeing this.
So in the 8 hours that you met with Hardin, he never showed you the relevant article that brings you here. So let's take it apart. It says, while holding office as Attorney General, Warren Kenneth Paxton misused his official powers by violating the laws governing the appointment of prosecuting attorneys pro tem. Will you agree with me, Mr. Cammack, that you were not a prosecuting attorney pro tem? Agree with me on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It goes on to say that Paxton engaged Cammack, a licensed attorney, to conduct an investigation into a baseless complaint. Mr. Hardin never asked you about that? That language?
I'm sorry, could you
Sure.
rephrase that? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir, sure. Mr. Hardin never went over this language in the article of impeachment with you, right?
No, sir.
And you will agree with me, Mr. Cammack, that you certainly never believed that you were a part of an investigation into a baseless complaint, right?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. 8 hours and you've never asked that question by Mr. Hardin, right?
We didn't talk about a baseless complaint.
Okay. Let's go for strike 3, although you just need 1. It says, during which Cammack issued more than 30 grand jury subpoenas in an effort to benefit Nate Paul or Paul's business entities. You would agree with me, Mr. Cammack, that was not your purpose. You were not there trying to benefit Nate Paul or his business entities. That's not why you agreed to get involved in this. Agreed?
Absolutely not. I didn't even know Nate Paul or his entities or anything like that.
I guess my long-winded point there is when you were asked by Ken Paxton, and we will get to that conversation, but when you were asked by Ken Paxton or told by Ken Paxton he wanted you to investigate the possibility of an illegal search or the creation of an illegal search warrant by agents, that was like, great. That's in my wheelhouse. That's what I do, right?
Well, it was an investigation into potential violations of the Texas Penal Code, which is what I'm familiar with doing. So it would be in my wheelhouse.
Right. So it's in your wheelhouse, in your strike zone, whatever, right?
Right.
And the fact that, and oh my God, it's a federal agent, or oh my God, it's a federal magistrate. I mean, again, they deserve and are owed their deference, but there's nothing sacrosanct about an AUSA in our worldview, right?
I have complete respect for government officials, but, you know, Mr. Paxton also believed that, hey, this is a serious accusation. It requires a serious focus. And, you know, if someone's doing something like that, they should be held accountable for it.
And I assume, Mr. Cammack, you felt the same way.
I did feel that way.
At the time that you first met with Mr. Paul and Mr. Wynn, do you believe they gave you at least some type of evidence for you to begin an investigation in good faith based upon?
They gave me, they told me the story about what happened, and I took some handwritten notes, and then when I left there, I was given like this timeline of events to kind of, I guess, help me digest everything.
Okay. And so you set about doing what a lawyer should do, that is investigating, right?
That's right.
And you could have done a number of things in this investigation. I assume one of the things you could have done is knocked on doors and started interviewing people, right?
Yes, sir.
But you didn't do that, if I understand it correctly. Instead of knocking on doors, if I'm understanding what you did, you issued subpoenas or chose to have grand jury subpoenas issued, right?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with me, Mr. Cammack, that the very intent and purpose of having the grand jury subpoenas issued was for you to be able to obtain that information without causing any alarm or concern on the part of the people of whom you were seeking the information?
That is correct.
All right. So for a week and a half, we have heard, oh my God, the grand jury subpoenas would intimidate these people and frighten these people and scare these people. It was exactly 180 degrees opposite from that. Your intention was to do the exactly opposite of that, right?
Can I explain that?
Yes, sir.
But yes, sir, to answer your question, when I spoke with Mr. Paxton about the idea of grand jury subpoenas, he said it was a smart idea because some of these individuals were people in positions of power, and this would be the most discreet way to get that information.
So if I'm understanding that conversation, then not only did you believe that was the most discreet way to obtain the information without alarming or frightening somebody, so did General Paxton, right?
Yes, sir.
That you were dealing with Ken Paxton. Did he ever ask you to misrepresent anything?
No.
Did he ever ask you to, for lack of a better description, lie, cheat, or steal?
To lie, cheat, or steal?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
And I'm including that in a broad sense, not in the literal sense, but also in the broad sense, not the literal sense. Mr. Cammack, never ask you to hide, secrete, destroy, never ask you to hide any record, conceal anything you did, dispose of anything that you obtained. There was never any suggestion of that, I don't think. Was there?
No, sir.
You are a 5-year lawyer, and you have authors, writers, people in the press that you've never spoken to, that you've never communicated with, that you've never heard of, just saying horrible things about you, right?
There were a lot of articles written, and I read a couple of them and then chose just to put that out of my scope of view, just move on with my life.
That was probably a wise decision, but it went into really needless detail about disagreements that you had with your family, and it just blowing everything out of proportion. And it was a nightmare for you, simply put, was it not?
It had nothing to do with anything involved in this. It was just a bunch of trash.
Mr. Webster and Mr. Paxton asked you to come to Austin. You come to Austin, and it's just as weird as as the time before. You don't go into the AG's office. You go over to Starbucks. Brent Webster says, 15 grand ain't nothing. I had to eat 40 grand. And you're thinking, that's not going to put, Post Toasties in my bowl here. I don't really care. My word's not yours, right?
That happened.
Okay. And to this day, you've never been paid anything, right?
$0.
Okay. And the reward that you have gotten is not really a good reward, right?
I haven't received any benefit from any of this.
Let me apologize for that situation.
Thank you.
That should have never happened.
Thanks.
It should have never happened. All that having been said, Mr. Cammack, it is still true, is it not, that what Ken Paxton asked you to do, find the truth.
That's what he told me when we first met. He just wanted to find out the truth about this first referral.
And that's what you were trying to do.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I'll pass the witness.